We're just 1 minute from 6 o'clock, and because it is a public hearing, I'm having to wait, so sorry. At this time, I'd like to call to order this meeting on September 25th, 2018 of the Lynn Haven City Commission. I welcome you all. If you would, please stand for the invocation, and Commissioner Barnes will be offering that for us this evening.
Let us pray. Our Father and our God, we thank you this evening for the many blessings that you bestowed upon us. We pray and ask God that you will be with each of us in this meeting. We pray for your wisdom and your guidance as we make the decisions that will affect this city for the next year and for years to come. Lord, we pray for those people who are sick. We pray for those people who are serving our country overseas. We pray that you will be with them, guide them, and keep them safe from all hurt, harm, and danger. And God, we love you and we praise you for all the good things that you've done for us. For it's in your name that we pray. Amen.
Amen. Would you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag? I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. At this time, we will begin our first public hearing. I'm looking for the clock. The time is 6:01 Central Time. This is a discussion of the proposed millage rate for the 2018 tax rolls, with the first being the city manager comments and the reading of the title of the resolution 2018-09-721, adopting the final millage rate. Mr. White?
Yes, resolution number 2018-09-721, a resolution of the City of Lynn Haven of Bay County, Florida, adopting the final levying of ad valorem taxes for Bay County for fiscal year beginning October 1st, 2018, and ending September 3rd, 2019, providing an effective date. Whereas the City of Lynn Haven of Bay County, Florida, on September 25th, 2018, adopted a fiscal year final millage rate following a public hearing as required by Florida Statute 200.065. Whereas the City of Lynn Haven of Bay County, Florida, held a public hearing as required by Florida Statute 200.065, and whereas the grossable tax value for the operating purpose not exempt from taxation within Bay County has been certified by the county property appraiser to the City of Lynn Haven, Florida, as $1,122,255.213. Now therefore be it resolved by the City of Lynn Haven, Bay County, Florida, that the fiscal year 2018-2019 operating millage rate is 3.9 mils, which is greater than the rollback rate of 3.8164 mils by 2.19%.
Thank you. Okay. At this time, we would open the public hearing for public comments. If you are in the audience and you have any comments or questions that you would like to ask, you may approach the podium at this time. There appear to be no public comments. At this time, I need a motion to adopt the resolution.
So moved. Second.
There's been a motion and a second. Is there any discussion or questions or concerns from the board?
Yes, Mayor. The gross taxable value is $1,122,255,213. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I think it was just a misread on the.
It was.
I just
Yes.
wanted to make sure
Thank you.
I was understanding.
You're right.
Okay. All right.
Thank you, Commissioner Barnes.
Thank you.
Any others? Thank you. Okay, Mr. White, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Russell?
Yes.
Commissioner Friend?
Yes.
Commissioner Tender?
Yes.
Commissioner Barnes?
Aye.
Mayor Anderson?
Yes. And so the resolution is adopted. And at this time, 6:04 Central Time, the City of Lynn Haven has adopted the proposed millage rate for the 2018 tax rolls. Item B is the proposed general fund budget for fiscal year 2018-2019. At this time, the city manager will read the title of the resolution 2018-09-722, adopting the final general fund budget and approving the enterprise funds budget for fiscal year 2018-2019. Mr. White?
Resolution number 2018-09-722, a resolution of the City of Lynn Haven of Bay County, Florida, adopting the final budget for the fiscal year beginning October 1st, 2018, and ending September 3rd, 2019, providing for an effective date.
Thank you. At this time, I would open the floor to any public comments concerning this year's fiscal budget. Any comments, questions, or concerns? Yes, ma'am.
Janet Walker, 1106 Michigan Avenue. I know we discussed in the CRA budget earlier tonight that $5,000 in educational funds was coming out of the CRA for Ben, who is the CRA director. Do we have a total figure of all training and/or educational funds that are coming out of the cities?
Employees and several of the, take for instance, the police force or the fire department, they got a lot of certifications they have to renew and keep up. So a lot of that's within their budgets itself. You'll have to add those line items up.
And I can understand that. I did take a quick look while I was sitting here on that specific line item in each of the departments, noticed fire protection and police enforcement. But you personally have no one figure, or I could see what one, I will have to go through each and every line item.
And I would have to do the same thing.
Okay, I just
Mayor,
thought.
Did you have a comment?
I do have a comment. I have actually totaled it up. It's a little over 104,000. 104,000.
104
Yes, ma'am.
for, on that training line item
Yes, ma'am.
from the whole budget.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you very
Unless
much.
I missed something,
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you, Mrs. Walker. Does anyone else have a question or a concern or a comment about the budget? There appears to be none. At this time, is there a motion to adopt the resolution for the general fund budget for fiscal year 2018-2019?
Mayor, I'd make a motion that we adopt the budget as presented with the exception of removing the new attorney, page 11, and all associated expenses with that new position.
I'll second that.
Thank you. May I make a comment at this time? I think I would just like to address that item would automatically be removed if tonight's agenda item is not pushed forward by the commission. So I think it's an item that will be removed after that, but I guess it could be put back in. So there's been a motion and a second. Is there any discussion from the board other than mine?
Yes, I do have a comment. I can tell you as a city commissioner, we've talked about this, but there is no money allocated towards the replacing Mr. Jackson. And I just think it's bad business whenever.
We haven't reached that item on the agenda, Commissioner Barnes, so you would be out of order really to bring that up now.
Are we talking about
If
the
you,
monies that's in the budget for this? That's what I'm discussing.
well, if you want to continue on the line of a first and a second and take it forward for discussion and a vote, that's fine.
Okay,
But,
well, this is what I'm gonna say.
There's no further discussion about the item on tonight's agenda until we get to that item. If you want to
But
make a
we have
motion,
money budgeted in this budget for that.
the city manager placed that in there in case we carried it forward. If you want to remove it and you can get 3 votes from the commission, we can go forward. Do you want to keep your motion in place,
I do.
Commissioner? Excuse me, Commissioner
No,
Friend.
I do.
Commissioner Barnes, you're out of order. Commissioner Friend made the motion. Commissioner Barnes made the second. So do you wish, Commissioner Friend, do you wish to continue with that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. There's been a motion and a second that we remove an item from the budget. Is there any further discussion from the rest of the commission?
I would like for us to discuss it, but,
Did you have a comment you wanted to make?
well, I think having, I want to hear what the discussion is later, because I understand what we talked about in the workshop as far as if we have an attorney that already works for the city, helping with that, having that person pass the bar. But I'd like to discuss it further when it comes up.
Okay, what I'm asking for now, Commissioner Tender, is do you have discussion about Commissioner Friend's motion. He's made a motion that we delete this line item from the budget. Did you have a question? We're not going to talk
No.
about what's on the agenda for the
Right.
commission.
No.
Mayor,
no.
may I?
Yes.
I believe the motion was to pass the budget with that removed. So
Yes.
it's not quite just remove it, it's,
Well, it's to pass the budget with that item
yeah,
removed,
yes,
so
ma'am.
it's
Just
to
wanted
remove
make
it.
sure. Yeah.
Okay. Mr. White has a question.
Would we need to add to that motion?
No,
Because I'll need money for attorney services. Would we revert back to the initial budget proposed amount for legal services?
Yes. All I'm asking for is to remove that new attorney.
I totally understand that. Okay.
Yeah, I was answering
Okay.
his question,
Okay.
actually.
For me.
All right. Is there any further question or discussion from the board on that item? Okay. Any question from the public about what's been proposed? And Mr. White, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Friend,
Yes.
Commissioner Barnes,
Aye.
Commissioner Tender,
No.
Commissioner Russell,
No.
Mayor Anderson.
No. So the motion fails. Are there
Mayor, I'd
any-
like to make a motion that we accept the budget as presented.
There's been a motion to adopt the budget as it's been presented.
Second that?
There's been a motion and a second. Any further discussion from the board? There appears to be none. Any discussion from the public? Any questions or comments? Mr. White, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Russell,
Yes.
Commissioner Tender,
Yes.
Commissioner Barnes,
No.
Commissioner Friend,
No.
Mayor Anderson.
Yes. So the proposed general fund budget for fiscal year 2018-2019 is adopted as presented. The time of adoption is 6:12 Central Time. And the public hearing is closed at 6:12 Central Time. We now move to a second public hearing, and the time is, I apologize, 6:12 Central Time. This is the proposed Community Redevelopment Agency budget for fiscal year 2018-2019. At this time, I would like to ask City Manager Mike White if he would read the title of the resolution 2018-09-723, adopting the final CRA budget for the fiscal year 2018-2019. Mr. White, if you will, please.
Resolution number 2018-09-723, a resolution of the City of Lynn Haven of Bay County, Florida, adopting the Community Redevelopment Agency final budget for the fiscal year beginning October 1st, 2018, and ending September 30th, 2019, providing for an effective date.
Thank you, Mr. White. Are there any public comments regarding the 2018-2019 CRA budget for the fiscal year 2018-2019? There appear to be none. Is there a motion, or, excuse me, are there any comments or questions from the commission? Thank you. Is there a motion to adopt the resolution 2018-09-723?
So move.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second. Any further comments from the public? None. Mr. White, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Friend,
Yes.
Commissioner Russell,
Yes.
Commissioner Barnes,
Aye.
Commissioner Tender,
Yes.
Mayor Anderson.
Yes, and so the Community Redevelopment Agency budget for fiscal year 2018-2019 is adopted at 6:14 Central Time. And this public hearing is now closed at 6:14 Central Time. Thank you. The final public hearing for this evening is beginning at 6:14 Central Time. This is the final reading of ordinance number 1064 for the small-scale future land use map amendment, SSA-18-6, recreation/open space to industrial. And I believe our city planner, Ms. Amanda Richard, has information for us for this item. Thank you.
This is a small-scale future land use map amendment.
Ms. Richard, can you pull it a little closer and a little louder? So,
This is I'm usually too loud.
That's perfect.
This is a small-scale future land use map amendment, SSA 18-06. The project is the Mowat property, was what it was referred to, but the applicant is actually Timothy Brock, who now is the owner of the property. The agent is Doug Crook from Panhandle Engineering, who is here tonight if you have any questions to ask him. Parcel number 11573-004-000, and the location is on Aberdeen Parkway. The parcel size is 3.94 acres. The existing land use is recreation open space. Proposed land use is industrial. The current allowable density is not applicable with it being recreation open space, and the proposed allowable intensity is floor area ratio 50%. The existing uses on the site is currently vacant. We looked into why, there was some question as to why this was recreation open space to begin with, and all we can surmise is that when we had the very first future land use map, when the state required that all cities and counties in Florida have a future land use map, for some reason this was actually put down as recreation open space at that time, perhaps because there was some in that area, but it's not city owned, and usually recreation open space is city owned property, but it isn't city owned, it was owned by the Mowats. The adjacent land use is to the north residential Bay County, to the south residential Bay County. On the east is industrial Lynn Haven, and to the west is mixed use Lynn Haven. This shows the location of the property. The red arrow is pointing to the property. You can see Highway 389 there on the west. This is the aerial. This is the current future land use map. Where that red pin is the recreation open space, the parcel that we're talking about. You can see on the west is the mixed use, and to the east is industrial, and that goes on down to Aberdeen Loop, which is all entirely industrial. So if this property were to be changed, then this property would have that same black stripe industrial land use, which this map doesn't show very well, but that's the property that they're asking for the change on.
Thank you.
Thank you.
At this time, are there any questions from the commission regarding this land use change ordinance number 1064? I haven't asked Mr. White to read the ordinance, so let me do that at this time. Thank you, Mr. White.
Ordinance number 1064, an ordinance providing for the adoption pursuant to Chapter 163 of Florida statutes of a land use change from recreation open space to industrial for an approximate 3.94 acres of property located south of Aberdeen Parkway, parcel number 11573-004-000 in the city of Lynn Haven, Bay County, Florida, repealing all ordinances in conflict herewith and providing an effective date.
There will be no action taken on this until item 12 of tonight's agenda, but if there are any public questions, public comments that need to be made at this time, the floor is open to anyone from the public who would like to speak. There appears to be no one. So this public hearing is closed at 6:18 Central Time. Moving on to item number 6, which is the mayor's report. And it is my pleasure this evening to welcome to our commission meeting Ms. Sharon Berrien. She is the Director of Membership Relations from the Florida League of Cities. And she is here this evening to make a very special presentation. And so we welcome you cordially to our meeting, and we look forward to the presentation you are about to make.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor, commissioners, your city manager, city clerk, city attorney, citizens. For the record, I am Sharon Berrien, the Director for Membership Relations at your Florida League of Cities, located at 301 South Bruno Street in Tallahassee, Florida. I am really honored to be here tonight for this special presentation. Every year at our annual conference, our Florida League of Cities Board of Directors, as well as the representatives from 412 member cities, recognize very special elected officials who have a tremendous number of years of service. They are exemplary officials who have served their city well. Tonight, I am here to recognize one of your own. And if I can at this time, Mayor, ask Commissioner Antonius Barnes to please step forward as I recognize him with a special plaque from the Florida League of Cities, as well as a pin recognizing his 20 years of service to the city of Lynn Haven. 23. It is our tradition, Commissioner, to pin you with a special pin commemorating your years of service. In this instance, we have 20, but of course you have indicated that it is actually 23, so I will make that correction at this time. But if I can pin you, and then I would like to read the resolution for the record. So if you would come forward. Change it. A resolution of the Board of Directors of the Florida League of Cities Incorporated honoring Antonius G. Barnes for 20 years of elected service and presenting him with the John Land Years of Service Award in recognition of his unselfish commitment to municipal leadership and governance. Whereas America's municipal governments have long relied upon the unselfish leadership of their citizens for local self-government, and Florida's municipal governments share the time-honored role as the level of government that is closest to the people. And whereas this reliance places extraordinary responsibilities upon citizen legislators, municipal elected officials like yourself, sir, who make significant sacrifices of their time and energies on behalf of their citizenry, often for little to no compensation, making this commitment a true labor of love. And whereas municipal leaders strive for excellence in the governance of their city, town, or village, and commit themselves to providing quality services, governing effectively, and working to improve the quality of life. And whereas the League has named its years of service recognition in honor of John Land, the mayor of Apopka, between the years of 1949 and 2014, a leader like you whose dedication is unsurpassed at the national and state levels, and who modeled the way for decades of municipal leaders. And whereas several terms in office is a high compliment that voters give to an official. And with these years of service comes a strengthening of wisdom, discernment, and strong leadership skills that brings tremendous value to the municipal governments of Florida. And whereas Antonius G. Barnes has held office in the city of Lynn Haven for 20 years, 23, and is recognized for this achievement, now, therefore, be it resolved by the Board of Directors of the Florida League of Cities Incorporated that Antonius G. Barnes is commended for his dedication to the city of Lynn Haven and is hereby recognized as an outstanding public servant in Florida, adopted by the Board of Directors, assembled this 17th day of August 2018 in Hollywood, Florida, by our then President, Gil Ziffer, Florida League of Cities, who is still a commissioner for the city of Tallahassee, and also our current Executive Director, Michael Siddig, Florida League of Cities. Congratulations, sir.
Thank you so much. And Commissioner Barnes, if Commissioner Barnes, if you'll just stay there just for a moment, and Ms. Berry, and you may want to stay with us just for a moment as well. The commission has something that we would like to present to Commissioner Barnes as well. On behalf of the City of Lynn Haven, this key to the city is presented to Antonius G. Barnes by Mayor Margot Anderson in appreciation for more than 20 years of service to the citizens of Lynn Haven and Bay County, Florida, on this 25th day of September 2018. We are grateful for your dedication and commitment to the Lynn Haven community. So we'd like to present that. Thank you very much. Safe travels back to Tallahassee. Thank you for joining us. League of Cities is such an important organization, and I'll be remiss also if I did not call attention to the fact that our former mayor, Walter Kelly, is here this evening, and he also received many distinguished awards from the League of Cities. So Mr. Kelly's on the second row. Continuing on with the mayor's report, just had several items to share with you. In the last 2 weeks, I've attended 2 different paving meetings with the city, with the Panhandle Engineering firm, and with Phoenix Construction, just to listen and see the progress of the paving. And it is moving along at a great rate despite the biblical type rains we've been having for the last 2 months. And we're very pleased with the progress that's being made. I also participated in the Mosley Homecoming Parade on September 18th. I had an opportunity to meet with one of the representatives from Blue Water Development Company, which is part of the owners of some of the parcels on Marina Island, and got a little bit of an update of some things that are happening, which hopefully we'll be able to share with everyone very soon. I attended a city staff meeting for all of the planned events that will be taking place between now and Christmas. And I just want to talk about 2 of our city employees, Kaylee and Catherine, who are working so hard with the Community Services Department, with David Horton, with Vicki Gaynor, and with many other staff members to make sure that our events continue. We have a great fall concert series that will be starting very quickly. And some of the new things this year that are going to be so excited, they're having a haunted hayride out at the sports complex. It'll be going all through October, and many other events. We have a cruise in this Saturday with antique cars on Florida Avenue. So lots of fun things coming up in the next few weeks. And it takes a lot of work from staff, and we just want to thank you for all the hard work that you're doing to make Lynn Haven a really fun place to live for everyone. I attended the Daughters of the American Revolution luncheon last Friday, which was a celebration of Constitution Week, and was able to present them with Lynn Haven's proclamation of how important we know it is to uphold the Constitution, which is the foundation of our republic, our democratic republic government in the United States. I also attended a roundtable discussion at the Chamber of Commerce with other community business leaders and elected officials with Senator George Gaynor, and listened to some of the things going on right now with the Senate, and met some other members. Visited the Senior Citizens Center several times just to listen and get more of a feeling of what's happening over there. There's a great deal of excitement about the change coming. Lynn Haven is very grateful for the 12 years that the Bay County Council on Aging maintained a program there, and this transition that we're making right now is a very exciting one, and I want to commend all of the volunteers, all the city staff, and everyone who's been a part of making the transition an easy one. And the senior citizens who attend there are extremely excited about what's coming next month. I've met with the news media regarding the new splash pad and the senior center, and the splash pad kickoff date at Kane Griffin Park, if all goes well with our health department inspection on Friday, will be on Monday at about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And I see Greg Kidwell is back there, and I would love if we could give him a round of applause for all he's done to make that happen. Thank you so much. And I've met with the city manager on a variety of topics, and that concludes my mayor's report.
Don't have a whole lot to discuss, other than still dealing with phone calls about stormwater, which I know I have beat the city manager up over it and Bobby over it, and Bobby always seems to help every time I have an issue, but I mean, we're eventually going to have to do something. Obviously, Redbird is the big one now. I've had several calls on Redbird the last couple of days, but you know, it's part of life, I guess. I also want to say that next Monday is the first day that we'll be taking over the senior center. So if you'd like to come out and, celebrate with these seniors, it's at 9 a.m. And I'm telling you, it's they're excited, and I'm really looking forward to what the city's going to be able to provide for them. That's all I got, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Tender?
Yes, Mayor. I've had a few phone calls about flooding on Rhode Island, and I've been out there a few times. Also got a number of calls about code enforcement issues, and I think we have that squared away. And also, I've been talking to somebody that's been wanting crosswalk lights, as well as a few people I've heard from regarding the Mosley Parade, and they wished that they would have known it was coming. So they were asking for a little bit of advance notice next year, maybe putting it more public for those who don't go on the website, possibly at the park on that sign or whatever. And that is about all I've got, Mayor.
Thank you. Commissioner Barnes?
I have no report.
Thank you. Commissioner Friend?
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I attended I mentioned it last meeting, I think, but I did attend the trolley. We're advertising on the trolley. You've probably seen Perry and Young on there, so I attended the grand opening of that. And I think I'm looking forward to that because it can generate some additional revenue for the transit system. Also visited the senior center, and also looking forward to attending Monday. Made a trip to Pensacola. Want to take the opportunity once again to thank Commissioner Tender for suggesting that I go visit that cemetery over at NAS Pensacola, and took some good pictures of the facility there, and sent them to the city manager. And also would like to take the opportunity to say thank you to the commission for passing the budget, which did include having the facility at the Hope Cemetery. So I think that's going to be a great addition to our city. And also just have TPO tomorrow. That's all I have. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. And I would mention, since you mentioned TPO, I'm going to have a conflict and not be able to attend tomorrow, but the TPO meeting is a public meeting if any of you are interested in attending, and Commissioner Friend is very active with that organization. At this time, moving on to item 8 is the city manager's report.
I've just been extremely busy trying to finish up budget, and I'd like to reiterate several of the things that y'all did as far as the events. We got Cruising on Florida Avenue, September 29th. This is Saturday. Yeah, the staff has done a wonderful job putting this together. We have the splash pad opening at Kane on the 1st of October that afternoon. We also start baseball and softball October 1st, so that'll be kicking off. And we take over the Senior Citizen Center October 1st, so it's going to be a busy 1st of October, as well as the concert series kicks off October 4th. So let you know that'll be a 6-week series. So every Thursday night, starting next week, we'll have a different concert in the park across the street. So love to have you there. That's all, Mayor.
Thank you. Moving to item number 9 on the agenda is the city attorney's report.
No report, Mayor.
Thank you. And then item number 10 is public commentary. This item is an opportunity for anyone who is here tonight. If you have any item that you would like to talk about, any topic, anything you'd like to bring before the commission, this is your opportunity. We ask that you keep your comments within a 3-minute period if that is possible. Thank you. Is there anyone who'd like to speak tonight? Mrs. Walker?
Janet Walker, 1106 Michigan Avenue. This may be for the city attorney. Have we heard anything about our portion of the sale of the rails?
I personally have, and I will be glad to share that, but it's all that I know, and then the city attorney may be able to talk to you further. When I mentioned in my mayor's report that I'd had a meeting with one of the members, the iron from the rails, the sale, I understand that a check has been received by the developers for that, and I don't know the amount, and neither did the person I met with, but we should be receiving our portion, and then I would turn it to the attorney to see if he knows more than I do, because I
Thank
just
you.
met with him this week, so.
I know nothing else except that Mr. Bales is not where he says he was before. So
What was that, Mr. Bales?
his address is not correct. So hopefully we'll get a check.
Okay, but we are expecting the check.
And not only are we expecting one, if we don't get one, I'm going to direct somebody to take further action. So,
Thank you so much.
yes. Is there anyone else from the public who would like to speak? So that would end our public commentary portion of tonight's meeting. Moving on to the consent agenda, this is just one item tonight. This is an approval for the minutes from the September 12th regular meeting. Is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
Just one.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second. Is there any discussion, questions, additions? Any comments from the public regarding the minutes from the last meeting? There appear to be none. Mr. White, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Barnes?
Aye.
Commissioner Russell?
Yes.
Commissioner Friend?
Yes.
Commissioner Tender?
Yes.
Mayor Anderson?
Yes, and so the minutes stand approved. Moving on to the old business, this is the final reading of ordinance number 1064, amending the small-scale future land use map amendment, SSA-18-6, from recreation/open space to industrial. Since he read it during the public hearing, do we need to read it again? Okay, we don't need to read it again. At this time, is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second. Any further discussion from the commission? Any questions from the public or discussion? Mr. White, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Friend?
Yes.
Commissioner Russell?
Yes.
Commissioner Tender?
Yes.
Commissioner Barnes?
Aye.
Mayor Anderson?
Yes, so that would stand approved. Item number 13, this is the final reading of ordinance number 1065. This is relating to licenses for on-premises consumption of alcoholic beverages for restaurants. Mr. White, do you have that ready to read?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Ordinance number 1065, an ordinance of the City of Lynn Haven, Florida, amending Chapter 6 of the Lynn Haven Code of Ordinances regarding alcoholic beverages, defining restaurants and bars separately, permitting licensure for an on-premise consumption of alcoholic beverages in restaurants as defined by state law, providing for repeal of ordinances in conflict, providing for a codification, and providing for an immediately effective date.
Thank you. Is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you. There's been a motion and a second. Is there any discussion or questions from the board regarding this ordinance?
Yes, Mayor, I have one.
Go ahead, please.
I just want to know if passing this ordinance, does it still include the 500 feet from church or school?
I'll let the city attorney answer since he wrote the...
Church is not included. School is. School is under state law, and so that is required by state law. If I may,
Yes,
Mayor.
please.
And so this is one in a series of ordinances that the city has adopted over the last several years, loosening our alcohol restrictions. And so this is probably the final step. State law requires that you cannot have on-premises consumption of alcohol within 500 feet of a school unless it only applies to bars, though, people that have more than 50% of their revenue generated from selling alcoholic beverages. Our current ordinance requires that same standard, except it applies to restaurants and bars. And so right now, a restaurant and a bar within 500 feet of a school is prohibited from serving alcohol. This ordinance changes that and basically adopts the state law. And so unless you are a bar, you will be able to serve, or you will be able to apply for an on-premises permit of alcohol to serve alcohol.
Okay. And just one more question. When we passed that last ordinance regarding the grocery store, was that not something that included churches? Didn't that include 500 feet from the church when we passed the ordinance to let them sell alcohol?
The original ordinances of the city included churches and schools. We removed churches, one of the three ordinances that we've passed. And so churches are not, there's no distances from churches anymore in the city.
Thank you.
Are there other questions or comments?
This particular ordinance is related to restaurants, so correct? So the restaurant has to sell 51% food to be able to,
Yes, if you're a restaurant, then you can apply for an on-premises permit
Okay.
from the state, which is somebody that sells 50% more food. 51%.
Yes, okay.
Any other questions on the board about the ordinance? Any questions or comments from the public? Mr. Walker?
Good evening. Rich Walker, 1106 Michigan Avenue. The ordinance that you were referring to was, I think, 1034, which is the one that removed churches. Churches were depicted as the only one in your ordinance to be removed. Therefore, it was felt that you were singling out a church and churches. This was remarked in a lot of conversations. We went through it. 1034 was to put you in line with state law. The ordinance you're passing right now changes that. It adds something, restaurants and bars. And there is a specific reason why. Okay, we know that. However, it doesn't make sense because this is a city-wide ordinance allowing any restaurant. I'll pick one, McDonald's. Anywhere. Lynn Haven's known for its fast food restaurants. So any one of them, and let's be specific, this is not an overall alcohol license. This is for 1% alcohol, which goes to wine and beer usually, okay? And they're pretty well easy to get a hold of. A full alcohol license is very difficult, as Mr. Russell would know. It's very difficult to get. There was some contention as to why you singled out the removal of churches. It hurt. We've been so many years of this, churches, parks, and schools. It worked, did fine. All of a sudden now we want to get in state line and we changed the ordinances and that allowed churches to be removed. Now we're adding bars and restaurants. Yes, there's particular rules that they have to follow, that's true. But it doesn't make too much sense to keep changing this ordinance around and around and around. The original one worked well. Nobody was hurt. No businesses did suffer. And the children and the people of this town were protected over the years by that rule. I think consideration should be put back into putting it back to churches. The city has the right now to do this. The city can control this. The state has given you permission to do that. Maybe you should think about it, protecting the citizens. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Walker.
Mayor, if I may?
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
Just to correct a couple of things that Mr. Walker said. First, a restaurant license, a 4COPRX, is fairly easy to get. It doesn't require you purchasing a license. First, 51% of your sales has to be food, and you have to have a minimum number of seats. There's no quota license required for an RX license. McDonald's doesn't have the seating to qualify. Beef O'Brady's doesn't have the seating to qualify. Even if they wanted to get the license, a restaurant has to be a certain size before they can get a liquor license in the state of Florida. So, thank you, Mayor.
Thank you very much. Are there any other comments from the public on this item? Okay, there's been a motion and a second. Mr. White, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Russell,
Yes.
Commissioner Barnes,
No.
Commissioner Friend,
No.
Commissioner Tender,
Yes.
Mayor Anderson.
Yes, so the motion would stand approved. Thank you. Moving on to item number 14. This is discussion and approval of the city manager's yearly evaluation in accordance with section number 6 of the city manager's employment agreement. At the last meeting, the commission, after we discussed the city manager's evaluation, the commission authorized the mayor to negotiate with the city manager regarding compensation or changes in compensation as that might be. So Mr. White did send to me a letter outlining what he currently is receiving and what he would like to ask for. And so we did meet and we did talk. And so I wanted to just clarify and say a couple of things before I go forward, and then I'll certainly open it to discussion with the rest of the board. And I want to begin by saying only in city government is one's very personal finances and salary and all discussed in a public venue. And so it's a very difficult thing to do. And Mr. White, with all great respect and apology, here we go. So as we spoke, I began our discussion by telling Mr. White, as I did during the appraisal part of his evaluation, where I gave him an outstanding evaluation personally, and he received basically a great evaluation from most of the commission. There were negative comments on some areas, but it was a great evaluation in general. He began with us at $135, and after 6 months, we raised that amount to $140,000 in annual salary, which was at the top of the scale for which we advertised for a city manager. At that time, we also authorized a $750 a month vehicle allowance. We did not make a fuel allowance, excuse me. And so when I spoke with Mr. White, one of the things that he had said in his conversation, which I think is very fair, is that he did not like to be compared with other city managers or other salaries, that he just wanted to be looked at with what he was doing with the city of Lynn Haven and to be looked at as an individual. He is very well qualified. I have nothing negative to say except that he's done a great job. I think he's done a good job with team building. I think he's done a wonderful job with the city of Lynn Haven in general. And on a personal note, his vision is very similar to the vision I set forth as a mayor 4 years ago almost when I started in this position. And so I support 99% of what Mr. White does, and I just want to say that before I say the next part. In this area, what I said as I came into this position as mayor, we have to pay for what we can afford. And we are a small city in the grand scheme of things. We're the second largest city in Bay County. But in looking, I did compare and I did call to find current salaries and to make sure that I was accurate. The city of Panama City, which is the largest city, they just hired a new city manager who's a retired 2-star general, and they're going to pay him $150 with a $750 car allowance. The city of Callaway has a city manager that they pay $130,000. He or she receives a $450 car allowance. The city of Panama City Beach has a city manager who was making $136. Recently, they just gave him a raise to $140,000, and he receives a $450 car allowance. Mr. White gave me some asking numbers where he would like to go. We had a very congenial conversation, but what I said was that I, as mayor, based on what I told the citizens when I ran for mayor, that at this time I cannot offer any additional compensation for this position. I would be willing in the future, as Lynn Haven grows, as our ad valorem taxes grows, as we become a bigger city, if he chooses to stay on with us, I would certainly entertain increasing compensation as much as this board feels, that we can afford to pay him, because he is a quality individual. And in comparing him with the other city managers, which he, again, asked me not to do, I wouldn't trade him for any of the other city managers, including the two-star general. So I think he's doing a fabulous job. But his asking, so that you may have an idea of what he's asked and that you may consider this and you may feel differently than I do about this, but I just had to put forth what I believe, and then each of you can have that same opportunity. And if you have a counter to what I've said that you want to offer, you certainly may. I did agree with one thing that he asked for, which is he has a mobile iPad service which allows him to work as he's traveling, if he's out in the field, so that he can get computer service. And it was $75, and I believe that that's very reasonable. So basically, I'm saying that I think we should stay with the current salary of $140,000 with a vehicle allowance of $750, and this is what he was asking if you want to make a counter. He asked for $165,000, which would have been a $25,000 increase. A vehicle allowance increase to $1,200, and he was also looking at possibly having a fuel card to pay for his fuel. I will say that this is not where he said he felt like he had to be. This is just where he believes that I don't put words in your mouth, but he was looking at these. This was a starting place for the commission to look at. So with those numbers out, and with my comments out at this point, and I would like to offer the other commissioners a chance to comment at this time. So,
Mayor, if I may?
yes.
I respectfully disagree with you. You know, I understand that he's making $140,000 a year, but I also understand that his job is more than it was when we hired him. He's got the senior center he's going to have to manage now. He's got 2 more splash pads that he has to deal with. He's fixing to take in the Lynn Haven Raider organization, which that alone, I would not want his job to have to deal with that. So I would respectfully disagree that he needs to remain where he is at now.
Okay. Did you have a proposal, or
Let me hear what
want to wait till everybody else talks?
Let me hear when they say
okay.
no. Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Tender?
And I don't know if this plays a part, but for me it does in an overall figure. It's my understanding that with Mr. White's benefits and everything included, currently he's making $233,000.
I did not include benefits. I was just reading
Okay.
salary.
Okay, thank you.
Is that
That's all I have to say.
Anybody else?
Yes. Mayor, from the presentation you just made, apparently there was a salary range from 130 to 150. I agreed. He's at the top of our scale, and I think we need to stay right there for right now.
Commissioner Friend, did you want?
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I would just, I guess, similar to Mr. Commissioner Russell, I would respectfully disagree. I mean, my comments would be, I agree 100% that, we've added additional duties. Some of them, are going to take a lot more of his time. He's hired some good people in place. And I would say this, I mean, we didn't hire a city manager. And that's, we saw, I mean, personally, that's the way I feel about it. We didn't hire a city manager. What we hired was a CEO. And we got a CEO. And that's what I was looking for, me, as a commissioner representing. I was looking for a CEO that could bring in the business background, business knowledge, because that's what we're dealing with is a business in the city. $40 million budget. And if you compare the $40 million budget to the business world and see what a CEO is making of a $40 million company, it's a little more than 150. So I'm not sure if we want to negotiate now. It really puts the city manager in an awkward position. That's why I think I made the suggestion, as we've done in the past, to have the mayor go in and negotiate. I don't know if we want to maybe send you back in with some ideas. I don't want to speak out of turn, but if it pleases the commission, I'd be glad to go in and negotiate and come out with a number. But anyway, that's my thoughts. I don't know if we want to continue to just negotiate his salary, you know.
I don't think it necessarily has to be a negotiation. I think that someone, if you're in favor of raising it, I think that it would be, you know, it's not really a negotiation to say, you know, would you be willing to, you want to go a 5%, a 6%, or, because, you know, I'm at the number where I'm going to stay, and Commissioner Barnes has indicated the same. Commissioner Russell has indicated that he might be willing to do something different. So if you're proposing that we go higher than this, then you need to, I think, I remember when I first became mayor that a former commissioner made a proposal right during the commission meeting. I can tell you who it was and exactly what he said because I disagreed with it, and then the rest of the board went along with it. So I think that somebody needs, if you're wanting to go in a different direction, then you need to go ahead and say what it is. Again,
Well-
I just want to reiterate one more time that I don't think there's a better city manager in Bay County or probably in surrounding areas, but at the same time, the average income for citizens in this city is far below that number. And, you know, one of the things that, you know, it was not popular, but one of the things that I remember saying when I ran for mayor was that we had a top-heavy administration up here, and we still have some of those left. You know, the salaries were really, really high, just based on, you know, being here for a long time. And I can see if Mr. White stays with us for a while and continues with the exemplary job he's doing now, I could see raising that salary, but he's been here just 1 year, and we're at the top of what we advertised for. So that's my feeling, but if one of you have a strong feeling about it and you want to bring it up,
Yeah.
we're
Yes.
all listening.
Yes, ma'am, I appreciate that. I guess what I was saying is, you know, I was under the understanding that we were going to, you know, maybe get a number back from what you guys had negotiated, and I guess the number is, well, we didn't come to a conclusion. So,
Well, Mr. White and I didn't agree on a number.
right, that's what I'm saying. So that's why I'm a little caught off guard, not necessarily ready to make a motion tonight for, you know, a particular salary range, because I would like to maybe hear, and I just don't want to put him on the spot, but I guess you've kind of alluded to exactly what he wants. And I would like, I mean, I'm not, again, I'll go ahead and say it. I mean, I think 165 is probably a little high. If I know negotiating, he may have shot a little high, thinking that we're going to come in a little lower. The car at 1,200, that may be a little high. Adding fuels is a mystery. So I don't like that so much, but I just think we have to, in my opinion, we hired a CEO. We need to pay a CEO. My concern is, if we don't take care of, same with every employee, and that's why we've introduced maybe the additional education thing to our package, which I think was a great idea. Those type of things, we need to keep these people. And I'm afraid that if we don't do something to entice Mr. White to stay with us, I can almost assure you that he is getting called on. I can almost assure you, because he's not a city manager. He comes from an electrical background. And so, I mean, I'm not going to put him on the spot and ask him, but I just have a feeling that headhunters call him monthly. And I would like to keep him in Lynn Haven. I think he's been a great addition to Lynn Haven. And I just think we need to do something in order to keep him, and I think we need to pay him as a CEO and not necessarily a city manager. And I'll let someone else speak, while maybe I can run some math.
And
give
if
some
I could,
thoughts.
I just wanted to kind of answer what you said. While I do believe that he performs as a CEO, he was hired as the city manager with that job description.
Sure.
And the only other thing that I'll say, and then I will not say another word, we have over 150 other employees here who will get probably a 2%, 2 point something COLA, cost of living type raise in the winter. And if they have performed in an exemplary fashion and they get the highest appraisal possible from their department, it's going to be somewhere around 5%. And they won't all get that. And I'm just thinking that these people who are making hourly salaries, our policemen, our firemen, to see the leader of the city get an 18% raise after being here 1 year, that would be very difficult for me to swallow as an employee. And I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, and I can certainly respect that, and I would in no way want to disrespect the employees. I think we have great employees throughout the city, but none of those employees sit in his seat. None of those employees are responsible to 5 elected officials for a $40 million budget. So, I mean, that's just where I'm at it. But, I mean, everybody's at a different.
So I would entertain a motion at this time to either make an offer or to make a motion to go in some other direction, because the mayor is where she's going to stay.
Mayor, if I may,
Please go ahead.
I have to reiterate, I completely agree with Rodney. I think he's underpaid, and I think it's a disservice to tie him to a number because it's Bay County. If he was to transfer someplace else, I guarantee he'd be making more money.
I agree with that.
And to penalize somebody that you want to keep here because he's doing the job right. In my opinion, this city's in a better place now. It looks better. The employees, from what I see and hear, are happier, which means they're going to be doing a better job. And it's, I think we're going to lose him. I think if we don't pay him right, we're going to lose him. I think he's going to go someplace else, and you can't fault a man for trying to improve himself. With that being said, I know this is going to fall on deaf ears, but I'm going to make a motion that we increase his salary to $155,000. We give him $900 a month car allowance, $100 a month fuel allowance, and we pay for his iPad.
Could you say that one more time a little slower?
Thank you.
$155,000 a year,
Okay,
$900 for his car,
okay.
$100 for fuel, and then, of course, his retirement and everything else that he continues to get now.
But also the iPad,
And the iPad. Yes.
which is 75, Mayor?
Is that,
Yes, I think you
I
said
think that's
75.
monthly, is it one? It's 30 monthly.
30.
Thank you.
That's the motion I'd like to make, Mayor.
Okay, would you mind making it just one more time and slowly, and then everybody can hear it? I apologize.
Yes, ma'am, and I
Thank you.
apologize.
Thank you.
I get a little
That's
wound
okay.
up when I get excited.
That's
so I
okay, go ahead.
apologize
No,
for
go
that.
ahead.
I would like to make a motion that we increase City Manager White's salary to $155,000 a year, $900 a month car allowance, $100 a month fuel allowance, $30 for his iPad fee, and then, of course, his continued retirement, health, and benefits.
Thank you. Everybody heard the
With the
motion?
understanding that the next 2 or 3 years, he's probably only going to get a COLA out of us from now on. That's the motion I'd like to make.
Thank you. There's a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Second.
There's been a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Any discussion or comments from the public? Yes, sir. Brad?
I come from an industrial background. My name is Brad Yunt, 210 Lakeview Terrace. And in my field, there's a lot of compensation comparisons, and you always make the assumption that anybody can be replaced. And I remember when the candidates were interviewed by teleconference and in person, there were a number of candidates that I thought could do the job that we had and that would have accepted pay in the range that we can afford. And I'm content to pay people in the pay range that we've got. And if the person that's got the job right now doesn't like that, I'm content for that person to leave and to replace them with another qualified candidate. Because everyone can be replaced. We should not be held hostage to a person that thinks he's a unicorn. He is not.
Is there anyone else?
Rich Walker, 1106 Michigan Avenue. Just one thing, you mentioned medical, okay. The medical program for the city was outlined by the city manager, and it was given to the citizens and the employees. Everybody accepted it. We pay for their premiums, 95% of it. There's only one person that I know of that doesn't take this. He takes the money and puts it in his pocket. That's an additional bonus. Okay. Let's go back over city-managed government. City-managed government, when it first envisioned, works under a different principle. The principle is Most city-managed governments are run by the city clerk. To achieve that, our city-managed government took over being city clerk. He took over being chief financial officer. He took over being head of the police. He took over being head of the fire department. He took over all the departments. Therefore, he ran the whole thing. So therefore, he has all these departments. If this person here that we have, city manager, would go back to probably the original concept of having a city clerk, and city managers work for the city clerk, that would be alleviating, and they could get a cut in salary right there. The original city manager, he took the salary from that city clerk, took it upon himself. So that's why we're in this box right now. It doesn't look, I happen to agree with the mayor here, it doesn't look good that we're going to put this guy, this city manager, at the top of the pinnacle after 1 year. Doesn't make much sense. Thank you.
Is there anyone else? Okay, it looks like that concludes the public's opinion. There's been a motion and a second at this time. Mr. White, did you have anything you want to say before you call the roll and offer you an opportunity? It's strictly up to you if you'd like to say anything or not. I know, and it's got to be an uncomfortable seat. I do apologize for that.
That's fine. To answer your question, Mr. Walker, that money is used to pay for my insurance. I have insurance through the electric cooperatives, Power South Energy Cooperative in Andalusia, Alabama. So that's what that money's used for. It's not in my pocket. It's paid for my health care.
Anything else you want to say? Okay. There's been a motion and a second, so at this time, Mr. White, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Russell.
Yes.
Commissioner Friend.
Yes.
Commissioner Tender.
No.
Commissioner Barnes.
No.
Mayor Anderson.
No. And so it would not pass, and we would stay at the same. Excuse me.
Whoa. I would like to make a motion to direct the mayor to go back and renegotiate in good faith to come back with an offer.
Second.
Okay, there's been a motion and a second that the mayor would go back and renegotiate.
In good faith.
In good faith. I will tell you that as the mayor of the city and also as the treasurer of the city, that I did negotiate in good faith. I did tell Mr. White very honestly what I believed that I could offer as mayor, as the negotiator. You have proposed an increase, and the board has not agreed with the proposal by a 3-2 vote.
There has not been a motion to keep his salary the same either.
Because a motion to increase it was not passed, I would assume, and I'll let the attorney direct me, that his salary would stay the same. Direct me differently if I need to do something different.
The contract wouldn't change based on the evaluation unless somebody changes it, unless there's some kind of action to change it.
So his contract is the same without another negotiation, and you just made a motion that I negotiate again, and if I negotiate again, I'm going to do the same thing.
You got a motion and a second on the floor, Mayor.
Pardon me, you said that you would.
Yes, you have a
made it-
motion and a
Okay,
second on the floor.
I heard that there was a motion and I heard that there was a second. Is there any further discussion from the board?
Mayor, if I may.
Please go ahead.
As I'd kind of alluded to before, I'm more than willing, if it pleases the commission, to go in and negotiate.
There's a motion and a second on the floor for the mayor to go back
Yeah,
and
I'm just-
renegotiate, not for you to. So if you
I
have a.
understand. I'm discussing the motion. So that's the discussion that I have, that if if it pleases the commission, then I'd be happy to do it as well.
Is there any further discussion? Mr. White, did you have a comment?
Yes, ma'am. Let me make this easy for y'all, because, this is kind of uncomfortable for me.
And I apologize, it just goes with the city manager job.
Yeah, that's fine. When I gave those numbers, I knew all of them were high. I knew they was high. But, I don't know if you've ever negotiated contracts. You don't start with the exact number that you want. Do I have that figure in my head? Yes. Am I happy with what I make? Yes. Do I love the city of Lynn Haven? Yes. So I kindly would like to ask Commissioner Friend and Commissioner Russell to remove their second and their motion, and let's just move forward. I'm okay.
I'll remove my motion.
Remove my second.
So the motion has been removed and the second has been removed. You certainly did not have to do that on Mr. White's duration, okay? But it has been removed, okay? So at this time, we will move forward then, and at this point in time, the city manager's contract will remain the same. And moving on to the next item. The next item is item number 15. That's discussion and possible action regarding an RFQ for the city's auditing services. This is an item which has come up many times during workshops, and I wanted to bring it forward because we did have a pretty good discussion at the last workshop based solely on nothing except that our auditing firm that this city uses has been used for over 2 decades without a fresh set of eyes, a different auditing firm looking at the city's financial state. Florida's best practices for accounting says that different auditing firms should be used approximately every 5 years. And so at this point in time, I'm asking that there might be a motion for discussion of an RFQ for the city's auditing services. And that's not saying that the city might not, they may bring the same one back again, but at least an option to have a different look at how we do our financial services here. Is there a motion?
Yes, Mayor, I'd make a motion.
Hey, there's a motion on the floor. There does not appear to be a second on the floor. Because I feel strongly about this and because I know that many of the constituents of Lynn Haven feel strongly about this, I'm going to do something that I said I would never, ever do again as mayor. I would like to pass my gavel over to Commissioner Friend, who is the mayor pro tem for this item, and I would like to do that now. And I would like to second Commissioner Tender's motion for the reason of discussion. So, Commissioner Tender, is there anything that you would like to say about it?
Mayor.
Well, I feel very much the same. To have the same auditor coming back to recheck their own work year after year for as many years as the current auditor has been here, it just doesn't make, it's just not good business practice for sure. And the fact is, what does it hurt to go out for quotes to see, who would come before us and see if we could save some money? Even if you can't save money, again, every 5 years, the state of Florida does that. I mean, it just makes good business practice as far as I'm concerned.
Thank you.
That's all I have.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
I can't say
It's okay, Mayor. I understand. So we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion?
Mayor Pro Tem, if I may?
Yes, yes, sir.
Are you, with your intention of this motion and second, are you intending to preclude the current auditing firm from reapplying? Or are they still allowed to reapply?
Of course, they're allowed to reapply.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner. Any other discussion? I would just take the opportunity to go ahead and add that to clarify the motion, are we making the motion to send out the RFQ or, now? So the RFQ goes out now, or could we, we were handed some stuff, and I know we've been dealing with this for a long time, but I know me personally, I've shared in the past that I think it's a professional service. Professional services are extended for more than 5 years typically. I also have raised the concern that with a new city manager, new finance director, I think we could rely heavily on the auditor for any input. That being said, I think this budget round has went extremely well, and it was really well done. So I could, I think I could get around doing the RFQ as long as perhaps we could take the information that we received tonight, look through it, and then come back and put it on the agenda. And I recognize that we've been dealing with this for a long time, but I just would rather wrap my head around it. Anyway, that's all I have to say. City Manager.
Mayor Pro Tem, Friend, that what you was given tonight Sometime back, I think last year,
Yeah.
y'all brought this up. That was the product of the RFQ that our city deputy clerk come up with. And, I suggest you look at it because I really need to look at it again. And we bring you a clean copy before it goes out, that you each be able to ask me questions about it.
Right, yeah, and I knew that we were going to have it on the agenda in a future item. I honestly didn't realize it would be on tonight's agenda until yesterday. But anyway, that's just my thoughts. So we do have a motion, we have a second regarding the RFQ for this, and if you want to clarify the motion, does it mean send it out now? Does it mean put it on the agenda in a future? That's where we're at. Anyone else have any discussion?
I'd just like to have a clarification of what exactly the motion is.
The motion is to send out an RFQ. We have, just like we do for any other thing that we've done in the city with professional services or services, and consider the possibility of having a different auditing firm look at the city's finances, because this same firm has looked at them for over 20 years. And it would be following best accounting practices, and it would also be an opportunity for other firms in the area to let us know what services they offer and cost involved.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Yes, sir.
If I can just clarify, and I guess Ms. Tender made the motion, but and so I understand.
She seconded it.
No, she made the motion, you seconded
Yeah, you
it.
second, yes.
And so is the motion to send out this exact RFQ, I'm sorry, or is it to send out a revised one, as the city manager said, after he gets a chance to look at it?
My motion would be to send out a revised one that we all agree with and get bids, yes.
And I would second that.
So do you want that to come back to the commission,
Okay,
the RFP?
Yes, the
RFQ.
revised version
RFQ,
of
I'm
that.
sorry.
Yes, the revised version of that, I would like the commission to look at. Yes.
Mayor?
Yes.
Tim, just for clarification, on a professional service, you can't ask for bids, you ask for qualifications, and then you go to a negotiating price
Right.
after you've determined which organization is the best choice.
Yep.
So, but the current auditing firm can apply, and if they are listed as the top qualifier, then we'll go into negotiating with them and start over again with them.
Yep.
As long as, okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
and do we want to, if the motion passes, or do we want to add to the motion a date to have it back on the agenda to send out the revised RFQ?
Mayor Pro Tem Friend, I could have that back at their next meeting.
Okay. All right. So with that, we have a first, we have a second. Any more discussion from the commission? If not, any discussion from the public? Yes, sir.
Brad Yunt, 210 Lakeview Terrace. I've listened with dismay to the report by the auditing firm each year. I've been looking for an opinion that is similar to that which you receive if you are a commercial organization. I'm sure that city manager has sat through many of those. You get an opinion that says that the auditing firm has studied the practices, the controls, and compared the financial ratios of your organization to similar organizations, and I've heard none of that. What I've heard is that these are the numbers, and it's more of a compilation, which is a much lesser work product. It is not an audit.
Thank you, sir. Any other comments from the public? Okay, seeing none, last chance for the commission. If not, city manager, call the roll.
Commissioner Tender,
Yes.
Mayor Anderson,
Yes.
Commissioner Barnes,
No.
Commissioner Russell,
Yes,
Mayor Pro Tem Friend.
Yes. So the motion passes. And with that, Mayor, I'd turn the gavel back over to you. Thank you.
Thank you. And that takes us to our last item, which is next to last, item number 16, which is a discussion and possible action for the city's legal services. I would need a motion and a second for this discussion and possible action.
I would make a motion for discussion.
And is there a second? Once again, Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mayor. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I would like to second Commissioner Tender's motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. With that, we'll open it up for discussion on the commission.
I am the one who brought it up. Mayor Pro Tem, may I
Yes,
give
ma'am.
information? Thank you so
Absolutely.
much. At the last workshop, and again, it's been an uncomfortable meeting tonight, and I consider Rob Jackson a wonderful attorney, and I also consider him a friend after having sat next to him for almost 4 years, and so there's nothing personal. It has to seem personal, just as it probably seems personal to discuss someone's salary, but I assure you that it is not. In looking over, as I said at the last workshop, the city was almost $900,000 into legal fees for a 5-year average the last 5 years. And I have made the comment since being mayor that I believe that if we had an in-house attorney, that we could do our legal services a lot less expensively for the city. So in recent weeks, it came to my attention after sitting at a luncheon in the city that we already have an attorney on our staff who was recently hired as an administrative assistant in another department. So I asked the city manager to find out some things as far as salary and what we could bring her on as an in-house attorney who would be here all the time at one rate rather than the call-in, the billing hours. And so recently there has been in Florida passed that if a military, active military spouse has an attorney as spouse and they're working and they're barred in another state, this attorney that's on our staff has her bar from the state of Texas, that they can work in the state of Florida underneath the auspices of another attorney who's willing to sponsor them. And so that's what we would be doing initially if this happens to be passed. She would work as our attorney for an initial salary of $55,000 a year to accept the position. It would cost $1,000 to have her sponsored by another attorney, $6,000 to pass the Florida bar, which this will be a one-time thing for her. If she stays for 5 years, that cost would be absorbed. If she were to leave before the 5 years, then she would have to reimburse the city that amount. So with benefits, the city would be paying her $74,507.60 a year. The city manager agrees, and so do I. This would be a bit of a hybrid position because this sponsoring attorney, if she is a 1-year attorney, which is what I did suggest, that we get an attorney that's fairly new, that we can hire at a price that would be much less, to sit and in our commission meetings and offer legal advice, and then to research questions that we might have through legal Nexus, Lexis type sites and that kind of thing, and give us opinions. We have an issue because over the years with people calling and billing with the attorney through the city with questions that we have. And if this commission were to decide to go with an internal counsel, it would be a bit of a hybrid system. The city would have her cost and then an hourly fee from an outside counsel should she need to go and get that advice. So I've met her. I think that she would be a great addition to the city. And so I think it would be a great idea to try it, with all due respect to Rob Jackson and the Harrison Sale McCloy and Hand, it's now the Alabama firm as well, who have represented the city for a long time. But at the same time, if you look, like I said at the workshop, with all due respect, most of the cities and even the school board in Bay County go through this same firm, and it's an enormous amount of legal fees that we pay. And I believe that she could offer us a service that would take care of our needs, and we could do it a lot less expensively and offer this to the city of Lynn Haven. So that's what I brought forth at the workshop, and that's my discussion. I don't know if anyone else has what they'd like to add to it.
Anyone else from the board? Commissioner
Yes,
Tender.
Mayor Pro Tem. I would just like to say that it just, again, makes good business practice. We could use that money in so many other places if we could save this kind of money just in 1 year. I mean, there's been many things that a lot of the commissioners have said that we need to focus on, and things that we need to purchase. And if we can reduce the cost in more than in half, it just is a good business practice. And it's nothing, of course, against Rob or his firm. It's just that it's maybe time to allocate monies in different ways and work smarter. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Yes, sir.
I've got a couple of questions. First, I guess I would like to get the motion restated so I understand the exact motion that we'll be voting on. Second, I'd like to know, can anybody address what her qualifications are? Third, who is the sponsoring attorney? And ballpark, what kind of income are we looking at saving if we go to this hybrid system? And if I need to repeat those questions,
No.
I will one at a time, but that's the jux is where I'm at and the information I need.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
Mayor Pro Tem. First of all, if you just take $75,000 and multiply it by 5, that would be her benefits and salary, and that would tell you what the 5-year amount would be versus almost $900,000 that we have right now in receipts for the last 5 years. Am I at liberty to say the attorney's name that you spoke with in public, or you wouldn't? He said not yet on that one.
Well, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to have a hard time voting for this, not knowing who she's going to go to when she has issues.
Go ahead, City Manager.
I personally asked the attorney. That would be something y'all would have to, and it could be,
So,
y'all may want to look at Rob, y'all could look at any attorney. But
Okay.
she'll have to be sponsored by an attorney that is barred in the state of Florida.
okay, well, so that would be my issue is, Mayor Pro Tem, if I may.
Yes, sir.
I don't know her qualifications, which I'm not saying I'm against it, but I don't want a new lawyer and her being sponsored by a new lawyer. You know, we need some experience. So, but like I said, that's not saying I'm not against the system. And if we can save money and move forward with it and have somebody on staff, you know, that may be the route to go.
Mayor
Yes,
Pro
yes,
Tem?
ma'am.
If I could just, the one question, like, as far as who the lawyer is, I think what city manager did is just he inquired of a very experienced lawyer to see if that lawyer would be willing to do it for that price, and that lawyer was. He was just, kind of testing the water. There are many experienced attorneys in town, including Mr. Jackson, who's sitting next to me. I don't know if he would be willing to do that or not, but if he were, he was certainly, I think the commission could consider. But I think it's not necessary that you have the name of the specific one today to be able to look at this motion. I think it's just that Mr. White was trying to point out that there was an experienced attorney in town, and that person is very experienced and willing to do it for that price. So that was the point of that.
Thank you. If I may, Mayor
Yes,
Pro
sir.
Tem, then I would like to Commissioner Tender to consider amending her motion to say that whoever the supporting attorney is going to have to be approved by this commission. That it won't be approved by the city manager. It'll have to come back before this commission for approval.
I'll entertain changing your motion.
I need to add something to make sure I understand. The $1,000 is not their cost. That's the cost for the state. So it's not that sponsoring attorney pays. That's what it costs
That's
us,
the state.
$1,000 to the state.
Per month.
No, just a one-time fee.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
But and that's fine, and I can accept that, but I still I would want this commission to be the one to determine who the sponsoring attorney is going to be.
my intention would be if y'all decide to do this, we would need to send out an RFQ and explain everything and send it out to multiple firms.
I would be good with that.
Okay, any other discussion?
I've got a question.
Yes, sir.
I'm just appalled and disgusted at this conversation. Harrison Sale has provided years of experience to this city. One of the things that is great about Harrison and Sale is the fact that they do represent other municipalities in the city, in this county, but they can bounce off questions off each other if there is an issue. If For example, Doug Sell, who sat as our city attorney for quite some time, is one of the renowned known municipal government attorneys in the state of Florida. And I feel like we're just throwing that all out of the window for reasons, to me, make absolutely no sense. This firm has represented this city very well. They have done a tremendous job. And I think that the commission is making a very, very bad decision. I will vote no on this.
Mayor Pro Tem, if I may.
Thank you, Commissioner. Yes, Commissioner. Russell.
The same argument could be made about the salary for city manager. I mean, the lawyer's worth it. The city manager's worth it. Are we trying to save money for the city, or are we trying to pay the people what they deserve?
Yep.
Argument goes both ways.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any other discussion from the
Mayor
commission?
Pro Tem?
Yes.
Would it be possible, do you happen to know, Mayor, how much experience this attorney that we're talking about has? I know we don't have a name, and I understand that, but just how many years' experience does she have? Do you know?
Yes, Mayor, go ahead. Thank you.
Yes, and I already said it. She has 1 year of experience out of law school.
Okay.
But another thing to keep in mind, when you're talking about saving, it's not a small amount of savings. It's almost $500,000 of savings. That's a lot of money for this city. That's a lot. And 1 year of legal experience may not sound like a lot, but she also has a Juris Doctorate in law. And law is called practice for a reason. And no offense to Mr. Jackson, and no offense to any other lawyer with Harrison Sale McCloy, but without exception, almost any time that you ask a lawyer a question, they will tell you that they have to research that, look it up, and get back to you, because law is based in this state, as it is in almost every other one except for Louisiana, on case. So they have to go look it up. None of them have it all in their heads. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with experience, and I have nothing against Harrison Sale McCloy, but we're not talking about saving $5,000 over 5 years. We're talking $500,000.
Excuse me. Thank you, Mayor. Any other discussion from the commission before I weigh in and turn it over to the public? I want to give everyone an opportunity. I would just say that I think you. I think a lot. Let me get all my thoughts in order. I'm trying to do what you do, Mayor, and conduct the meeting. But I think on the surface, it's a great idea. I like the way the mayor thinks. Quite honestly, I can appreciate that a great deal. My concern is there's a lot of unknowns, and my concern is it could end up costing us more money. Even if you take the individual out of the equation and you put any lawyer with maybe 3, 5, 6, 10 years experience in the position, they're going to have to call, unless they have government experience, they're going to have to do some of that research, and they're going to have to call on the other attorney. We don't know what that number is yet. We'll RFQ it. You know, it could come back at $400 an hour, $500 an hour. We don't know. There's just a lot of unknowns to that. So on the premise, I could almost say, yeah, well, maybe it's a great idea, but I'm afraid it's going to end up costing the city more money. And I can't stress enough how important it is in that position to have that historical knowledge. Other than our commissioner that got an award for 23 years, I think the firm has been with us at least that long, or perhaps longer. The other thing that I want to take the opportunity to say is Commissioner Russell did a lot of math, and I've requested that information because I'd like to see, and Commissioner Russell, I appreciate you doing that hard work and coming up with the invoices and crossing and dotting the I's and crossing the T's. I'd like to see that before I were to make a good, a decision, a determination. So I think there's just a lot of unknowns. The other question that unfortunately might be a legal opinion, and he would defer to someone else to come back and give us the opinion, is I'm not sure the charter allows us to do this. The charter speaks to an attorney, and then that attorney, thank you, sir, that attorney must be barred in Florida. So if we were to hire her, or this individual, she's not bar in Florida, then she would have to, that, according to our charter, if I'm interpreting it correctly, she'd have to get that bar first, regardless of what may have changed as far as the sponsorship. That's just the way I interpret it by looking into it. So anyway, that's all my comments. Anything else from the commission?
Well, Mayor Pro Tem, with
Yes, ma'am.
all due respect, I think you're completely wrong about the charter based on what the governor said with what he did with this. It's in favor of military spouses, and yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Well, I can
And then
appreciate.
the other thing that I would offer to you is, I actually did the research on the attorney's fees before Commissioner Russell did. I have the same receipts in a binder on my desk, and you're welcome to it
Yes,
sitting
ma'am.
there.
Oh, great. Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate it. I can't, that's too small. Thank you, City Manager, but I can't read that with my glasses. Okay, any other discussion from the commission? If not, I'd like to turn it over to the public. Yes, sir.
Walter Kelly, 333 Moore Drive. Presently, we have an experienced attorney serving the city of Lynn Haven. I have sat beside him and during some negotiations, and let me tell you, he knows what he's doing. You take someone that don't have the experience, the knowledge, and those arms that he can reach out and bring in knowledge, it's going to cost you money. Now, I'm all for saving funds. I'm very conservative, and I'm concerned about the debt of this city, and I'll leave it there at this time. But think about it thoroughly, because an attorney that's just coming out of school, yeah, they've got a lot of knowledge, but they don't have that street experience. They don't have the knowledge of these cities, how they operate throughout. They don't have the knowledge how all of these people are waiting to sue the city. Well, we have an attorney that knows how to handle them, what to do when the commission calls him, and let's keep him. Let's keep him right in place where he's at now. It may cost a few more dollars, but it'll be worth in the long run, and he'll save you money. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
Brad Yunt, 210 Lakeview Terrace. In the commercial world, it's frequent that we have an in-house counsel, and the use of the in-house counsel is to promote good legal hygiene. You do not expect the in-house counsel to prosecute cases for you. You expect the in-house counsel to work with outside counsel and to evaluate the bills of outside counsel and to control the bills of outside counsel. A person with 1 year of legal experience as a military spouse, I would expect that person to be transferred in 3 to 5 years time frame. And that's approximately when I think they become much more productive, is after that experience is gained. So I think that we're short-circuiting the process here to a certain extent. I also think that the savings are not going to be as big as you're anticipating. You mentioned LexisNexis. That's a commercial service. I'm sure there's a handsome price for that. And I'm sure that was not in the $75,000 estimate. Also not in there is the price of outside counsel for issues that the inside counsel doesn't feel comfortable handling. And that needs to be added into it and budgeted. So will there be savings? Maybe, but they won't be as big as half.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else from the public?
Mayor Pro Tem,
Yes, sir.
those fees was added in the budget.
Okay. Thank you, City Manager. Any other questions, comments from the public? From the commission? Any other comments, discussion from the commission?
Yes,
Yes,
Mayor Pro Tem.
Yes, sir.
Can I get the motion restated? I think that was one of my original questions.
Yes, sir. All right, Commissioner Tender?
I'd be willing to restate it.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Yes.
Yes, I will entertain
Okay.
your new motion.
I'd like to make a motion,
Okay.
including that the commission would have to come back and approve the sponsoring attorney.
Thank you, ma'am. We have a new motion that, okay, do we have a second to that motion?
I would second that.
Okay, we have first and a second. Any other discussion? Any other discussion since we changed the motion to the public? Okay, seeing none, city attorney.
I guess I'm not clear what the motion is. And so is the motion to change legal services and then go in-house and then bring back the sponsoring attorney to the commission? Or is it, I think the original motion was just for discussion, so I think we need to clarify the motion for the record.
I agree. Thank you.
That's right. Okay. Well, I'd like to make the motion that, that we do go with in-house services with the caveat that the sponsoring attorney has got to be approved by the commission.
Okay, so that's the motion, and do we have a second?
And I would second that motion.
Thank you, Mayor. Okay, do we have any other discussion from the commission? And again, one more time for the public. Seeing none, city manager, call the roll.
Commissioner Tender,
Yes.
Mayor Anderson,
Yes.
Commissioner Barnes,
No.
Commissioner Russell,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Friend.
No. The motion carries. With that, I will pass the gavel to the mayor. Thank you, Mayor.
And the last item on tonight's agenda is adjournment. Thank you all very much for attending. Appreciate your attendance and your input.